Wait. Are you there?
Here, you can't
Ah,
hear
yeah.
me?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Now, yeah. I couldn't hear for a second. Let me see.
Okay.
We're live. Yeah.
Yay!
So, hi everyone and welcome. Um, Let me see. This is okay, and I just keep this one. Is it going? Yes, perfect. So we're live. Welcome everyone. I'm very happy to have you here. I'm here with Isabelle. So yeah, I thought let's get live, and I wanted to have Isabelle with me because I love her so much that it's always a joy, and her smile is so beautiful that I couldn't resist. And here we are with Isabelle.
Hi, everyone. I'm Isabelle Zimmerman, and I'm with Max, my soul brother. We're going to do an Ascension Roundtable, but he reached out to me and he's like, "You want to go live?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go live." I'm sure the non-physical team has a ton of things for us to discuss. They're already coming in. I already feel my cheeks getting flushed. And probably, Max and I are doing this live because we missed each other.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Absolutely. So let me just check that. So this is working, and yeah, okay. So, yes,
Tell you what they're asking me for us to discuss.
yes,
Okay. Right before Max and we were speaking, I speak to a lot of light workers, and I'm actually creating a journal prompt journal. And for example, I'll give you an example. So this is what it looks like. And the first day of 365, the prompt is starting new, starting fresh is part of nature, and you are part of that nature. How is this true for you? Write an example. Why is new part of nature? And so I was talking to Max and I said, "Max, maybe you should write a book." And he was telling me that he was thinking about writing a book, and he got a software program to assist him in writing a book. And I said, "Well, just write the book for you. Write it, like, don't worry about like who's going to read it and what the book is about, and just write it for you." And I can tell you, Spirit has really been on me to encourage my brothers and sisters out there to journal. And I know some of you already journal, but we would like for you to start this practice in 2022, to start journaling. It doesn't have to be every day, but just get into the practice in a routine to journal a couple of times a week at least. And it's because your ego mind will slow down, and your inner being and non-physical team can communicate through your writing, or at least you will be susceptible to receive a message or a feeling or a download or something you need to examine. And so writing or journaling is a really inexpensive, if not free, tool for you to get into alignment and help you, whether it's focusing your energy or intention, or working with your ego mind, slowing it down. But it's really helpful. And the journal that I'm creating, these prompts, Spirit was like, a lot of people have a hard time just starting. And
yes,
so I channeled 100 365 prompts, and we go through themes. So like the theme for January is newness. And how can I get my brothers and sisters to be comfortable in the new? And Max is going, discovering a lot of newness, right, Max? You're
Yeah.
no longer in a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah. Absolutely. But you see, it's funny because I booked I booked this program for writing, and it was right, that synchronicity of things. I was on Facebook, and Nora Harold, she was asking people about programs to write books, and I saw that and I thought, oh wait, let me buy it. um and then, yeah, I have the program, and as you said, it's to start doing it. It's just to put yourself into that space where you start doing it. And I've seen that for me, that now is my functioning, right? It's to put myself in that thing where I'm just doing it. I'm not going through the thinking program or thinking process. It's like, right, for tonight, I was there. Oh, I want to, okay, let me just message Isabelle and see if she is there. And I realized that this for me works. So it's a whole new world of everything, of experience, and of, right, of discovering,
So
of,
that synchronicity, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that was the other piece that they wanted me to bring up, was being into the flow and synchronicity. So it's, a lot of us light workers are experiencing time differently, and we're experiencing different realities or different, I don't even know how to explain it, but we're feeling the energies. We're feeling the energies very strongly. I talk to a lot of light workers, and a lot of us are not sleeping or being woken up at
yeah.
4. And a lot of light workers are actually writing books. I just spoke to a beautiful light worker, Sophia, and she is working with Yeshua, and she's actually writing 2 books or channeling 2 books. And one of her books is nonfiction around love. And it's excellent. It's so good. And she's a young woman. And she's like, hey, Isabelle, will you read chapter 1? And I'm like, I'll read chapter 1. And I was talking to her even before I read it. I said, I think you're channeling an entity that wants to share their story so that you can bring it to Earth, or they're from Earth, doesn't matter. And it's a teaching tool. And she said, oh my gosh, that's exactly how it feels. So Max, just drop your resistance to writing, because whatever story needs to be told from the non-physical, they'll pop in and inspire you. In fact, Sophie said to me, and this is the same with my friend Andrew, who is also channeling many books, and my other friend Sari, who has like 30 stories going on. Like, it's crazy. But entities come to you to tell their story, to share their story for a reason, for the grand ascension and for the awakening. So Sophie's story, Sophia's, hold on, I'll tell you the name of her story, because it's about love. It's 3 years later, chapter, Love Shouldn't Hurt. So her first chapter is about how love hurts. And it's because the character has an alcoholic, abusive father that abuses the wife, right? So a lot of light workers are being called to write, or your sister here is also writing an ascension, a handbook for the newly awakened. And I tend to write tools to assist humanity. So I'm like a workbook girl. I'm a guidebook. I'm, an online course kind of girl. I'm all about teaching, 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 right? But when I first started, I was actually writing a young adult novel. And that had a lot of research into the fairy realm, into the angelic realm. And I can see that inspiration was so necessary for my growth. So Max is seeing the synchronicities and he's getting into the flow, right? And you're going to start writing, but they will assist you, Max. They will help you so much.
And I think I already have written down the title.
What is it?
Months ago. The eternal validity of the human experience.
The
Eternal validity of the human experience.
The eternal validity of the human experience. Wow. I would so buy that. I would so read that. Your sister, the scholar, would so read that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and I wrote this as an idea of audio, right? Speaking. And some times ago I had this thing of said, and I said, yes, I want to write, but write is that I have to tape it, and I don't want to tape. And then I was told, yeah, sure. Sure. You'll tape it. Don't worry.
Look, I totally get it. What did I get? So I didn't have time. I actually did start to channel a book, and I stopped it because I went to the non-physical team and I said, this is too much blah, blah, blah. I just don't want to do a book. I said, I want them cooking in the kitchen. I don't want them to read another book. But I use the app Dragonfly, I think, or where you could speak to text or text. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, so I was in Romance Writers of America. And like I paid like a membership and I would go to these monthly meetings and I was surrounded by authors and editors and publishers and we would talk about like different programs and mapping and things like that. But I would tell you now, being a full-blown psychic, Max, all you really need is a Google Doc.
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely. I've just I tried the speaking thing, so the transcriber or whatever you call it, on Page, the thing of Apple. It doesn't work. it goes, it writes things, and it just doesn't follow. I try to say, well, if this works. And then I actually, I've booked this, I think is a Scrivener or Scrivener.
Scrivener, yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll go with that. And I think that you can change the languages, because my thing is about language, right? I have to see, do I write in English, French, Italian, one of the three? Because at the end of the day, as you said, I'm doing it for me. So it's not, I'm not going into something that is literally, even though I had this thing, to think of going through Jane Austen, and I discovered that if I'm connecting with her, I can write something that is close to her writing. So it's just,
so you were inspired to connect to Jane, right? So out of all the authors that you wanted to work with, because you're psychic, you have the ability to connect even with an author that's alive's inner being. You can connect with anyone's team. But the fact that Jane came into your mind right? To connect with her. That was totally inspired by your inner being. So I would say work with her, work with Jane.
Yeah,
She
I
would be
think so too.
delighted. She would be delighted to co-collaborate. And I love Jane's. She's just saying thank you. I love Jane's.
I know. I've
I
been.
love
It's
her voice, and I love um
yeah.
and me personally, if you were going to ask like what language you should write it in, I'm of course I'm going to say English so you can send me the chapters.
Yeah, absolutely. No, true, absolutely. And I mean, right, I know that through that I'm able to go into an English that is interesting. And I love that, right? Even if I'm just saying, well, who cares? And
Yeah.
and and I love going into a exercise that is maybe not so spoken English or so fluid as the actual English that requires a little bit more. But I don't care because I love doing that. And the fact of doing it in a language where I'm fluent, but it's not my first language,
Yeah.
I discovered that that gives you so much freedom. It's so, yeah, because you just are not conscripted from
Yeah,
what you
you're not,
know.
yeah, constricted from all the rules, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And
because you lose it.
I think you're because you know three languages, I think the energetic you're going to choose different words and your energy, and you've got so much angelic energy with you, Max. I'm super excited. Like it's seriously, and I know I'm like really positive and nice. So like when I give a compliment, it's like, oh, well, Isabel's just being nice. But I'm telling you, I would seriously read that book.
No, that's true, but it's I think it comes out nice because it's nice, but it's I
Yeah.
don't take it as a push, right, push over, or as pushing someone that has no just try to do I take
Yeah.
it, I know that it comes from the heart, right?
Yes.
It's real, that it's
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
be nice with him, the poor
Yeah.
guy. But I mean, that's what we do. I've discovered that I was saying to you before. I've started working with these clients, Reiki sessions,
Uh-huh.
and for me, it's a discovery. It's something new, and it was such the first session I've done. I was just I finished that, and I said, I just discovered a world that I had no idea of. I didn't know that having a session working with someone so closely and in this way could be so rewarding and so beautiful and so amazing. The connection does everything, right? And it's
Yeah.
something that you do not experience in you have when you have a corporate job, right? It's something, oh, and doing this now with the experience of sessions, I realize that when you have your clients and you discuss with them, uh, that you lift them up. It's not positivity. It's not that crap of the, oh, you have to be positive against negative. It's simply that you know that humans need that thing. They need to see that because they tend to go in the opposite direction, right? Not to express their feelings, to keep them in. And you say, well, if you keep them in, you get sick. So express them, right?
Yeah.
These kind of things.
It's true. And one of the things, so I moved out of my house. I divorced my husband. I quit my job. So 21 was a lot of changes for me personally. And one of the things, I wrote a blog on it, um, but Spirit wanted me to grieve my old life. And in that was, it wasn't grieving just for the current changes that I was doing, but grieving from the changes of my childhood. And they gave me this analogy, and I really like this analogy. They showed me a tree and they said, my child, your heart is way more than an organ. Your heart needs to express the emotions. And if the emotions are not expressed, they become stuck energy within your body. We would like for you to see a tree with beautiful leaves of autumn. And if you do not shed your emotions or process your emotions or allow your emotions to be expressed, what happens is some of those leaves stay on the branches of the tree. And then the spring comes, and where there's a dead leaf still being held onto the tree, a new leaf cannot grow in its place. And so my tree will have dead leaves and new leaves. And as I shed the old and I grieve, then a new leaf can come in its place. And I understood that that's what a lot of us do, not like on purpose, like, hey, I'm going to keep my dead leaves. Yeah, but we do that energetically. It's because for a variety of reasons, and they're all perfect, guys, don't worry about it. But if you're aware that if you don't allow emotions to be expressed, you're holding on to that energy like a leaf on the tree.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's the I realized this this Saturday. Uh, After I told you about these courses that I had to follow, and I went through all the process of seeing that, and then on Saturday morning I was there realizing what I said, right? This is not for me. I'm not going back to that. And as soon I realized that, and I said to myself, this is the path, there is no going back to anything else, I had a weight that left me, that went away from my chest, from my heart, and it went away. And and you know what? I realized I didn't knew that that weight was there until it left.
Yeah.
Right? I was holding something I didn't knew. It was just there. I was not aware, and then suddenly, release goes away, and I was like, oh gosh. I feel free, right? But it was there, and I didn't know. And
I agree. I didn't know I was holding on to grief from my childhood, and you know, I can tell you how Spirit asked me to get me to feel my emotions, which was brilliant on their part, or my part, because we're all one. But they asked me to look at Grandma Moses. So Grandma Moses was this artist that started painting, I think like at 78 years old or something like that. And she was painting her way of life. So they're very picturesque, horse and buggy, small villages, very old, like 18th century style of life, like Little House on the Prairie. And when I started to examine my life of Isabelle, like, oh my gosh, I remember stressing out about taking a test in school, or I remember freaking out on picture day for school, like my hair didn't turn out, or what's up with mopping and cleaning floors? And so I was just thinking of all the humanist experience that, you know, honest to goodness, so I maintained a house, and Max, it just used to like irk me to death. Now I find it charming, but when you wash a floor, you have to like sweep, vacuum, mop, and then if you really want to be like extra, dry it with the towel. That's 4 steps. And I just thought there has to be a better way to clean floors, for crying out loud. Like, why do I have to repeat the same step 4 times or 3 times? Like, it's so annoying because the broom doesn't pick up everything and the vacuum cleaner doesn't pick up everything. And then the mop is the one that really like washes it. But if you have the dirt on the floor, it doesn't work as well. And I'm like, why if we can send a man to the moon, why can't I build a device to wash floors in one pass? But I was just like reminiscing of my human life, learning how to do laundry and stressing out over school and, all of those things of being human or American, like I'm sure you had different experiences that you grew up that Americans didn't experience, but well, no, I think Europeans are sports. They're into sports too. But like, it's so funny that we're so into sports. Like, that's such a human thing, like
Yeah,
some people get really, really upset, like mad, like super, super mad or super,
I
super
know.
excited.
Yeah. But well, it's for me as a child, uh, I attach a lot through to the experience of sport or supporting a team. I supported. I am, but not as much. But as a child, a
Yeah.
fan of a ice hockey team, and as everything was crap, I had this team that I was following, and my life was going around that team. When they had they had a match, when they right, everything was around that. And for me, it became a way to cope with everything else because I was just focusing on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a way really to use these things for you, right? For
Yeah.
a way of coping with something else or to just distract you from and
Yeah.
keep going. And for me,
Yeah.
that was that is what made me keep going for forever. Every time they were playing at night, I was listening to the radio, to the retransmission of their match, and I was getting crazy every time they had they scored, and this, it was just, but it
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah. So when I was pretending to be Grandma Moses and reminiscing about my childhood and my way of life, being married, being a mother, um, it opened up the door for fondness, and then the tears came. Then I cried because then I felt the loss, and I felt the loss. And I remember sobbing. I was 9 years old and I was leaving my best friend Helen in Montreal. And I remember that pain. And so they basically, oh my gosh, they're so funny. Basically, they gave me a journal prompt, guys. My non-physical team gave me a journal prompt so I could do my soul work. They're so
Yeah.
sneaky sometimes. But anyways, so as I was doing my soul work, I realized that I had moved a lot in my life and I had lost friends, and changes and all of it. And seeing, reflecting, I would say, what was important, what I stressed out over, what I enjoyed. Um, and, it gave me, once I grieved, once the tears stopped, I felt deep sense of gratitude and appreciation and something left. It was a stone in my heart, Max, that I did not even know was there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I had been carrying it. And, it wasn't a quick process. I think it took a couple of weeks, to be honest with you, of doing the soul work because it was so deep. And, but yeah, something left. And then I went, a new leaf can now grow in that place, whatever that leaf is, you know. But it allows me to be more secure and safe as I continue on my journey of playing the role as an ascension teacher. So I am a lot more relaxed where I live, who is friends with me. I feel connected to all. So whether they're in my physical presence or not in my physical presence, because Max and I, we've never met in person yet, but I can tell you, I love him. Like I feel very close to Max and talk to him. And so even though we're virtual friends, I would say we're metaphysical friends. Like I'm sure on the other side, we're together a lot.
Yeah, yeah, but absolutely. It's a new discovery. This is the realization of exactly that, and I realize how that we have so much in common in ways. Well, we don't know, right? We don't know, but it doesn't matter to know. We don't need to know because
No, we
we're
know.
so huge that
Yeah. Yeah. We know in our hearts, and I'm
yeah.
sure Max and I will meet this year. And I'm going to kiss him a ton of times on the cheeks and hug him in person.
Oh gosh, that
But yeah, so these experiences, because I feel so close to my brothers and sisters, connecting with my brothers and sisters all over the world, it allows me this freedom to be anywhere in the world because I always feel connected. So when I was a child, that connection was not possible because long distance phone calls were really outrageously
oh
expensive, and you would just have to write, you be a pen pal. It was just, it was a different time. And now in this modern time, or this experience as now is Isabelle, I realize I feel more connected to people and I don't necessarily need that physicality. I enjoy that physicality. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm really looking forward to meeting my brother Max. Trust me.
yeah.
But it's okay. I'm just softer around it. I'm just softer around that experience. And and because I guess Max, I can't even imagine not being a psychic anymore. Like we're
Yeah.
all psychics, but like the awareness, I can't imagine of me not being aware anymore.
But you see that the thing is, in my experience as a child growing up, the experiences with people, so meeting people, having connections with people, and then people leave. And I recently, well, yeah, I just some days ago channeled about this, the people leaving, and it was in, they were kicking my ass. To be honest, around, well, it was connected with my father, and they were saying, well, your father is gone, let it go, you cannot keep that thing because it's toxic for you, so it's done, gone. But I realize that that was so, it's so true, so correct to say, well, when people leave, they leave. But I remember growing up, it was always a tragedy, because I it was right. Like, how can I survive without these people? How can I leave these people? And now I realize what you said, and that is that the physicality of the physical presence is not a necessity, because there is that knowing, or that um, confidence of the being connected, so that you can, right, we are physically in the physical reality separated, but now with what we do, we know that we are not separated, right? So
Yeah.
it gives another, but but I'd say that's not enough yet to take away that pain, right?
The
You
loss.
have to know it. Yeah,
Mhm. You
you
have to
have
feel
to
it.
know. Yeah.
And one of the things that Spirit is working with me is we're working on contrast. And for me, I'm just using this word. I'm seeing the contrast as beautiful, but we can exchange it with meaningful, or we can exchange it with acceptance. Okay. But I'm working on contrast one at a time, like shame. I worked on shame. I worked on not being enthusiastic. So I was disappointed. I worked with disappointment. I worked with rejection. And, these emotions, so all our fears is really the exploration of loss of love. So acceptance, joy, abundance, enthusiasm, or whatever, is a high frequency, and it's love. And the loss of love, of shame, rejection, anger, sadness, depression, all anxiety, is really the loss of clarity, awareness, acceptance, whatever it is, right? The frequency of the thread. So all of that is a loss of love. And so Spirit was really educating me around this. And they said, your soul and everyone here on earth came here to explore the loss of love. And I said, wow, that is so curious. Why would I be incarnated? Why would I be born in this dimension to explore loss of love? And the prior generations was exploring loss of freedom. Freedom is love. Trust is love. Loss of trust, right? So why would all these humans, loss of life, loss of love, whatever, right? Health. Why would these humans come here to this dimension? Because we know there are infinity of dimensions, so many planets, so many different levels of consciousness. So why would humans come here to be incarnated to explore this loss? Well, this has taken me 4 years, guys, but I'll let you know how I understand it as Isabelle. If you were a great explorer, let's look at rejection. Let's look at the thread of rejection. So acceptance is on this side and rejection is on this side. And you have many, many lives of varying degrees of acceptance or rejection. And when you come to Earth, you can experience intense rejection, intense. And you've had other lives where you experience rejection, but not so deep, right? Or you're experiencing rejection in a very soft manner right now. I don't know. But the reason why you came here to explore such intense rejection is because you understand acceptance completely, because that's our natural state. And you really want to know rejection to know the whole frequency of this thread. And so in order to know it, you have to experience it. And so we came here to experience the loss of love, to know what it is. And that helps us to be closer to source, because it's all created by Prime Creator of all that is. It's an experience and a perspective. You're creating a new perspective. You're creating a new desire. When you experience intense rejection, what do you birth? Intense acceptance, right? And so acceptance can be, really you want to accept yourself, but depending on where you are, maybe you just accept your family. You accept your mother that you don't get along with, because she rejected you.
Or you accept rejection.
Or you accept rejection, right? So when you accept rejection, once you really go into that feeling of rejection, and it's dense and it's intense, trust me, but if you can sit in it, there is a door into acceptance, because once you've been fully rejected, you have to accept yourself. Because now you're not looking for acceptance outside of you. You go inwards and you accept yourself and understand you're whole and complete. And that heals that rejection. And you move into the frequency of love, and you're transmuting that rejection into acceptance of love. And it's beautiful. And it's freedom.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not afraid of rejection, because I don't reject myself. And I can appreciate that emotion of rejection. And I can appreciate that different frequency of acceptance of rejection. And I'm so glad it exists. And I'm so happy, because it also binds me and unites me to all these humans on this planet and who has ever been here, because we have all faced rejection. We have all felt rejection. So how could I not love rejection now? Because I am connected to all of my brothers and sisters that has ever lived and will ever live in a 3D consciousness. And it unites me.
That's beautiful, and I'm gonna tell you why I love what you said. So over Christmas, I had organized. We went with my husband. We went to see my mother, and we had our Christmas dinner with my sister. Which we should have had two, but one was sick. So, and the next day, so the Christmas day, I had organized, because I refused to go to my father's and stepmother's because it's toxic. So I said to my sister to organize so that I could meet my father in the next town, 15 minutes drive for him, because I said, well, he's old, can't really drive. Okay, so we organized that way. So on Christmas Day morning, my sister calls me and she said that she was not well all the previous day, and so she had a test for COVID with her husband to be sure that so that he could go work. But at the same moment, they didn't want her to stay alone, so they asked my father, and my father went to take her. So that was a hour and a half drive for him. And she called me, and he was with her, and he said, I don't have a son anymore, and that if I wanted to see him, I could go in their house. And so I just said, well, Merry Christmas and goodbye. And my sister was so, she said, oh, it's my fault, you're not gonna see him. And I said, oh, no, don't worry, it's not your fault, it's okay, it's like that. And I had to think, I said, well, so 15 minutes drive, it's too much. 1.5 for my sister, that's okay. And so I said, well, and you see, it was it was like the rejection. I knew the rejection, right? He already rejected me. So I put that there and lived there. But in this occasion, I said, well, I'm there. Let's meet him. And so I had this thing where I said, well, even that, it's too much. Even that creates rejection. And so I had already been warned before, be careful and be flexible, and well, you'll see when you're there. And so I had that, and I realized I could have avoided it, but at the same moment, I felt that I needed to do that and to have that experience. And I said, all right. And then it was funny because I was there. How do I feel about that? Am I grieving? And then I said, I already grieved my father as a child for other reasons, but I already grieved him and cried a lot. That now it's even not news anymore. It's simply confirmation of something that I already knew. And also it's that I know that it's my stepmother behind him, that that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So I had to go through that rejection. So that's a rejection. But I realized that as I had already done a work on that, the moment that rejection becomes final, I'm able to just take it and say, okay, it's this way. But they said you have to admit it. You have to see it. It's this way. You cannot avoid it. In this situation, this is the outcome. This is what you get. And at the same moment, I hold, right, I have the two perspective. Right, I have the love for the creators, for the beings, my stepmother, my mother, my father, and my mother too. And then I have this human experience where with these beings it's impossible to get along, and I have to accept that too, right?
Yeah. So spirit is having me, they would like for me to laugh with my mother. So I'm seeing my mom every Wednesday, and my mom is 82. And I'm definitely more compassionate and kinder. And I have this understanding and knowing that this is the life to heal my relationship with my mother, because she was my brother in another life that I remember. And I died of a broken heart in that life for my brother. And it was the weirdest, surrealist thing. So I was flooded. I remembered, I was downloaded this intense love I felt from my mother when I was 3 and under. Like, I remember loving her. I remember like dragging the kitchen chair to the sink to wash her dishes. I remember telling her I wanted to marry her. I just loved my mother. And unfortunately, or whatever, it was probably my trajectory, but my mom was very cruel to me. So she was abusive, and that shattered me. That just hurt that little girl inside of me. And so my love for my mother, I always loved her, but she was like a tornado to me. She would like, her temper would swoop into the room and level it, and then she would be done, and then she would be fine, right? But that uncertainty, that precariousness was very scary. And then Spirit was saying to me, her temper, when she got into fear, she was very much like the lioness seeing the weak deer. And she would just go after the weak deer to death. So she would get caught up in her fear. So she didn't mean to hurt me the way she did, but she lost control because she sensed my weakness and went for the kill. Metaphors, not, obviously I'm alive, guys. So
It's metaphor, yeah.
So I adopted a belief not to show my emotions, not to show my weakness, not to be vulnerable, right? Because I felt like my mom was going to pounce on me. So here I am undoing all of this, right? This is so funny. So here I am undoing this, and she's 82 years old. I'm not afraid of my mother. I'm not afraid of her temper. I couldn't care less if she's a tornado now. It's so different. And they're like, we want you to laugh with her. And I'm like, oh. So Max, have I laughed with her yet? No, but I go see my mother every Wednesday, and Yeshua comes with me because, true story. Listen, when you connect with your team, they know your thoughts. So I was driving with my mother, and she was just complaining, and she was negative, and it was heavy, and it was like an hour into it. And I was driving my car, and I thought, I really could drive my car into the tree, and I really would be okay.
Yeah.
So like, I wasn't going to do it, but guess who swoops right in? Yeshua comes right in. And I was like, I felt like I was caught with my hand in the cookie jar. Hi, Yeshua.
I didn't mean it.
Like, I was laughing. My mom has no idea what's going on, right? So I was laughing, and Yeshua's like, Isabelle, Yeshua. I think you need a little help. I'm like, maybe. I said, you heard that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeshua helped me, and he was like, it's okay that you feel like you want to drive your car into the tree. You're just being triggered of the vibration of your childhood. It's okay. Little Isabelle is just freaked out. But be compassionate towards yourself and your mother. And so he's like chirping in my ear, like, to like walk me through it. And I did, and it was fine. And I left that day in love. It's just like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't force laughter. And I don't know, guys, if my mom and I can laugh together. I'm trying to bring out her inner child and her little girl in her. I was with another person and I got my mom's call and she was complaining and she's paranoid and all that. And I said, okay, mom, well, I said, I'll look into that and, I'll see you next Wednesday. And I was just genuinely compassionate. And Charity's like, wow, you were so nice to your mom. You didn't engage, you didn't fight. And she's not fully aware, right? And she was just looking at it from that perspective. And I'm like, thanks, Charity, because she doesn't know, like, like we're new in our friendship. And so it was really nice to see like, oh shit, I was compassionate and I wasn't faking it. I was genuinely being compassionate and I was genuinely understanding with my mom and not putting on a face, not pretending, not keeping my calm. I do allow myself to get mad at my mother. I do hang up the phone sometimes on my mother. And I allow that to come through because my mom was always allowed to express her anger. But as soon as I got angry, I was shut down. So I knew energetically it was important for me to express my anger. She doesn't have dibs. And it's okay if we create a storm. And it's okay if it's low vibration. It doesn't matter. But it's important for me to be authentic. So if I'm mad, I'm mad. If I'm sad, I'm sad, and practicing being authentic in your emotions and even showing your emotions. I would tell you personally, your sister here hides behind her intellect and her big smile. So it's taken practice for me, and I'm grateful for my non-physical team assisting me and helping me and reminding me, which again, I know it's me, but it's practice. I would just say it's practice.
Yeah. And I see for me that the thing that is that as I grew up with a lot of conflict, and same thing with my mother, that she was over domineering, and I know now that that was something that I choose because I needed someone to be domineering, because growing up, I had that aspect of me being
Yeah.
having the potential of developing that aspect of my inner self, of myself, uh, taking over and become and going in a path of that abuse of power, which I had, and I have instances in my childhood where that was coming out of me. And I could be in situations where I was physically, and especially physically, dominated by other people, but I was there and I was absolutely fearless, and even confronting people that were 2, 3, 4 times bigger than me. So my mother, what she did for me is that she killed that. She killed that
Right.
aspect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She killed the crap out of that completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and so, well, I know that, but nevertheless, coming out of that, I developed a fear of confrontation.
Yeah.
And so I avoided confrontation completely. I was scared of it. I couldn't. And for years, with my husband, when he was getting mad at me, I just shut down. And he was getting mad, and I was saying nothing.
Yeah.
So there
Same.
was no confrontation. He could confront me because he was that there. There was just nothing. So he couldn't really release that because it was just simple. and it took me a very long time to get over that, think of avoiding confrontation, realizing that, well, that's not a big deal, right? It's, you have, that's part of things. But for me, that was really the thing. And I had to go through many phases, many instances where then I was able to let go of any fear of my mother, really seeing her as a being, and being able to get to me and realize that, well, right, it's over, right? It's, I don't need to stay into that. But oh, yeah, it's it's crap. It's really that basic work that you have to do with your childhood in order
Yeah, working with
to.
the inner child, and for those who are listening, Nikki Frahe is probably one of the most amazing human beings I've ever come across. And she does inner child trauma. She channels. Mary Magdalene is her main guide. But her inner child trauma work is amazing, just amazing. And if you ever need a therapist, it would be over Zoom call, but energetically, it's powerful.
Mhm.
But I can tell you, whether you deal with your inner child in this life or another life, you will deal with your inner child.
Yes,
Because it
absolutely.
is part of the necessary stage and phase to this ascension. So you can resist it all you want. And there are many ways to work with the inner child. I'm not saying one way is the only way, but you do have to address your inner child, and you have to address your ego too, because there are
Yeah.
aspects of you. And in order to move into oneness, you have to work with these aspects with you. And so anger, these things take time, and it's a multi-pronged approach. And one of the things that I had to view anger as a storm, because I actually like thunderstorms. Some people don't, but I do. I love thunderstorms. I find them magical and powerful and amazing. And I'm so grateful for thunderstorms. And that's what anger is. And so once I understood it's a thunderstorm, it's a clearing, it's a cleansing, it's full of energy. Yes, it can be dangerous, but it can also be exciting, right? That's how I approached anger, to soften my fear around anger, because I was terrified of anger. I would do anything to make sure someone didn't get angry. I would do anything to make sure there wasn't a conflict. I would appease, please, soothe, whatever I needed to do to make sure there was no conflict.
Yeah.
And so I became a really, really good people pleaser, because I knew energetically, a storm is brewing. Ooh, what can I do to distract? What can I do to soothe? What can I do to make this better? Because it brought up so much fear within me. And again, this was like a 4-year process. This wasn't just like seeing anger as a storm and accepting it. It was so intense and big. One of the other tricks that I had to do was imagine the frequency of anger as different colors in a Crayola box, so that I could accept that, black, gray, mud, whatever, green, whatever color of anger, or red, or passion, right? Whatever that color was, I could like soften myself to it and say, it is needed in our repertoire of emotions. It is needed. And then of course I had to express my own anger. And then I'm like, but I had suppressed my anger for so long. What was I angry about? Right?
Yeah.
So I had to bring that up to the surface. So it was a very much multi-pronged thing. So whatever you are working on, whatever is in your physical reality, like right now, Max is working through rejection. And it's okay. And it doesn't happen overnight. And you can do a little bit at a time. There's videos, there's books, there's us. You can reach out to us.
Yeah.
But just know by not pushing it away, but when you start to accept these aspects of you or these emotions you do not prefer, you bring it more into oneness and you bring it into that love frequency. So it feels counterintuitive because you want to push it away and not experience it, and not feel it, and blame and shame and guilt, and blah, 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 you know. But once you can start to accept it, and, you know, Max knows his dad was in fear and said that hurtful statement.
Yeah.
He knows that, but that doesn't mean it feels good. And that doesn't mean it's healed, right? Because his father said those words to him to play a role so that he could go within and look at rejection.
Yeah. And so, right, these things, and I'm learning this, these things are literally, as you said, it's we play the game, everyone has a role to play, and so we use this, and so that's why we can hold at the same moment the loving position of the creator of this being that is doing this, and at the same moment you have the human part that grieves and that goes through the emotional state of it and needs to feel it and go through it, and we tend to avoid that, to try not to go into it because it's too painful or too demanding, or because we think that we can avoid it. To put it simply, right? We think that we are stronger than that, and that, oh well, whatever. And but generally, it'll come back and bite your ass because you cannot avoid it. And right where we are now, it's more likely that the coming back biting your ass, it's quick. We are in a era or in a vibrational state where things go faster. Well, time is going faster, so everything is faster. So we are faster, so things come back faster. And
Yeah,
generally, right, it's this life. It's now.
it's this life. And, you know, we are in a grand ascension and a grand shift. And so, all of humanity, I mean, they might not stay here, they might be reincarnated, and cycle back in, but whoever is physically incarnated here has a journey, has soul work, has things that their inner being, pre-birth intentions that they want to experience and for greater understanding. And, you know, light workers out there, you came for this. You had many, many lives for this. So thank you for doing your soul work. Thank you for helping the Soul Collective. I love you tremendously. I understand how hard it is. And you're all doing so amazing. You really are. And be gentle on yourself on the journey, but continue doing that soul work because it brings in more love and light within you. It does bring in freedom. And I have to tell you, that feeling is beautiful. It's so magical. And your potentiality increases. And so pushing past that fear and doing that soul work and getting in with your inner child and doing that trauma work is necessary. And it's necessary for us all. So it's not like, you know, anyone's going to escape it. We're all in it. We're all in it together.
Yeah, and on this topic, light work, wanted to say we're tired in this moment. We are tired, but we don't realize the work we do because it's not conscious level or human conscious level, but we do this work. And but in this moment, there is a lot of work that we do connected with COVID. And in this moment, there are a lot of infection, and there is a lot of work for light worker for us, right? We are doing really a lot in this moment. So it's normal to be tired. And I was thinking, and this, yeah, they were telling us, yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm really, really tired. Yes. But at the same moment, well, that's what we do, right? Well, that's what we love to do, and so we do it. And there is a lot because, yeah. And then you say, well, there are so many humans that are behaving really very, yeah, putting themselves right in that. But it doesn't matter, right? Because that's what we do. But we have to acknowledge we're tired. But that doesn't take away anything. It's okay to be
tired. It's okay to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's all okay. Take a break. Be human. Watch football. Binge on Netflix. Whatever.
Watch curling.
Whatever, get out in nature. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just know that your sisters and brothers are with you. Max, we're like at an hour 15. So I think we should wrap it up.
Yes.
Thank you so much for spending time with Max and I. Yeah. We hope you enjoy it and come hang out with us again.
Yes, and you have the opportunity next Sunday with the round table. Yeah. We'll have Kimberly and Nikki with us. And it's going to be on Nikki's channel, right?
Yeah.
We don't know yet what it's going to be about, but we'll see, and we're very excited already. So thank you to join with us, to be with us, and we will see you in the next now. So now, let me see, where do I go here? Bye-bye. Right, done.